questo.
They tore down my great-aunt's stone wall at dawn on a Thursday, a backhoe ripping through the hand-laid limestone she'd built in 1951. I watched from my porch, coffee going cold as the crew worked, directed by a woman in a tailored blazer snapping photos on her phone. What they didn't know was I controlled the only access road to their 72-home subdivision. Every one of those houses depended on my land for their fancy gated entrance, and I was about to teach them why you don't mess with a retired surveyor who knows every inch of his deeds. Margaret Hensley, HOA president, thought she could bully a quiet widower into submission. She was wrong. I don't fight loud, I fight smart. What would you do if someone destroyed a piece of your family's history? Share your story below. And where are you reading from? Drop your city or country. I'm Owen Kessler, 58, third-generation surveyor, living on 94 acres in rural Ohio, 45 minutes from Columbus. Let's dive in. My land, been in the family since 1947. Great-aunt Clara bought it after the war, a stubborn woman who built a stone wall along Willow Creek to protect her fields from flooding. She hauled every stone herself, set them without mortar, and carved her initials into the keystone. That wall wasn't just rocks, it was her legacy. I'd walk it as a kid, balancing on the uneven tops, learning to read survey markers from my dad. Every spring, I'd reset any stones that shifted after winter. It was my ritual, like Clara was watching. Now I'm semi-retired, doing consulting for local developers, living off lease income from a few acres, widowed 3 years, son in Colorado, quiet life. The wall was my last tie to Clara's grit. 2 years ago, a developer turned the old Granger farm into Willow Grove, a gated community with 72 homes starting at $1.2 million. They needed a drainage easement across my land for their stormwater system. I negotiated $15,000, signed the papers, and thought that was it. Then I met Margaret Hensley, 60, real estate broker, drove a Lexus SUV, always in heels that clicked like a metronome. She became HOA president 6 months after moving in and acted like she owned the county. Last March, she showed up unannounced with a certified letter demanding I remove Clara's wall within 30 days. Said it was a visual obstruction and a flood risk based on their HOA's consulting report. I read the letter. "Ma'am, this wall's on my property. Your HOA has no say." She smirked like she was humoring a child. "Mr. Kessler, our records show it's on a public right-of-way. We're just asking for compliance." The report was 5 pages from a lawn care company, no surveyor's stamp. I told her so, her eyes narrowed. "We'll handle this through proper channels." I tossed the letter, figuring she'd drop it. A week later, 5:47 a.m., I woke to the roar of heavy machinery, ran outside in flannel pants and boots, no shirt, and saw a backhoe tearing into Clara's wall. Stones scattered into the creek, dust clouding the air. I yelled at the operator. He shrugged. "Lady said it's county work, got orders." I pointed at my property line markers. "This is my land," he kept going. Then I saw them, 2 SUVs on my access road. Margaret and an HOA board member both filming, one chuckling. I called 911, voice shaking. Sheriff arrived an hour later. Wall was half gone, creek choked with debris. Deputy took a statement, called it a civil matter. Margaret handed him a folder, cool as ice. "Officer, we removed a hazard, county's grateful." I stood there, dust in my hair, realizing she saw me as a speed bump, not a person. Back on my porch, the air smelled of broken stone and betrayal. Then I remembered something about Kessler Lane, the private road Willow Grove used for access. Time to play my hand. I hired a lawyer, Tom Brennan, a local who'd handled land disputes since we were kids. He saw photos of the wall and said, "Owen, this is textbook property destruction. Easiest case I've seen in years." We filed an injunction to stop further damage and a lawsuit for $92,000, $40,000 for reconstruction, $40,000 for historical value, $12,000 for distress. The sheriff's report was vague, no criminal intent found. But the county surveyor confirmed the wall was 100% on my land, no permits issued for demolition. Margaret's lawyers countered, claiming the wall was public property via prescriptive easement since residents used the adjacent path for years. Tom laughed. "Owen, they're grasping. You've got 25 years of maintenance receipts." He was right. I had records, every stone reset, every weed cleared, every tax bill listing the wall as my asset. We submitted it all, plus photos of my private property signs. The judge tossed their counterclaim in a month. Margaret didn't quit. Her HOA hired a Columbus firm, the kind with glass offices and $300 an hour associates. They filed a motion calling my suit baseless harassment, demanding $60,000 in their legal fees. Then came a settlement offer delivered by a paralegal in a suit sharper than my truck. Drop my lawsuit, they'd drop theirs, and they'd donate $6,000 to a local history museum in Clara's name. Tom slid the paper across his desk at the diner. "It's a PR stunt, makes them look generous in court." I stared at the number. "Tom, Clara built that wall with her hands. They tore it down in an hour, laughing, and think a charity check fixes it?" I pushed it back. No, he nodded. This could get costly, you sure? I was sure. Then Margaret escalated. A neighbor sent me screenshots from Willow Grove's private forum. Margaret posted, local landowner obstructing community progress, refuses to address flood risks endangering your homes. Another post mocked me running out in flannel pants, implying I was unhinged since my wife's death. Comments piled on, he's a danger. Our home values are tanking. It spread to a local Reddit thread, is Owen Kessler ruining Willow Grove? I don't do social media, but seeing strangers call me a lunatic hurt more than I admit. My buddy Carl called, you see what they're saying? I was on my porch, creek water glinting under moonlight, air sharp with pine. Yeah, you gonna clap back? No, I don't play her game, I play mine. I pulled out my old contact book, actual paper, yes I'm 58, and started calling. Surveyors I'd worked with, county clerks, old colleagues who knew every zoning quirk in Ohio. Next day Ellen Tate called from the county records office. Owen, I shouldn't say this, but Margaret's been pushing sketchy permits for Willow Grove's new clubhouse. Approvals are flying through, signed by Commissioner Roy Vance. I scribbled the name. Should I know him? Ellen paused. He and Margaret co-own a lake house in Michigan, public record. I grinned. Ellen, I owe you a steak. Just don't get me fired. I spent 2 days at the records office pulling files, permits, easements, old plats from the 1950s that smelled like mildew. As a surveyor, I could read legal descriptions in my sleep. I found gold but kept it quiet. Didn't tell Tom, didn't tell Carl. In a fight like this, you hold your cards close. Tom called Friday. Margaret's pushing for a hearing to dismiss your case and stick you with their fees. I was staring at Willow Grove's lights through the trees. Let her push, I'm working on something. What? Insurance. What I didn't say was I'd found a way to make Margaret regret crossing me. It came down to one word, access. I buried myself in records for a week, building a case like a surveyor builds a map, precise, layered, undeniable. Kessler Lane, Willow Grove's main access, was private, deeded to my family in 1953. Their drainage easement expired 6 months ago due to a filing error. They'd been using my land illegally. I cross-referenced every Willow Grove permit. Their stormwater system had a conditional permit from the Ohio EPA, expired a year ago, with 2 extensions signed by guess who, Roy Vance. I called my old intern Leela Patel, now an environmental consultant in Cleveland. Owen, if they're operating on an expired permit, that's a violation. File a complaint and the EPA inspects within 90 days. If it fails, they're looking at $500 per household monthly for portable drainage until it's fixed. I asked for the complaint form. She hesitated. You're going scorched earth. Not yet, I said, but I mailed the form that day. Then Margaret played dirty. 3 county citations arrived. My 1982 Jeep was abandoned. My brush pile was a fire hazard. My property sign was non-compliant. Each carried $200 daily fines if not fixed in 10 days. I called the code officer, a kid named Jake. Jake, why now after 20 years? He mumbled. I was told to check your place daily. I didn't need to ask who. I texted photos to Tom. He called livid. This is harassment. We'll counterfile. But Margaret wasn't done. Saturday night, 1:15 a.m. I woke to smashing glass. Ran outside, saw 2 figures spray painting my barn. Private property in red across the doors. They bolted when I yelled, leaving a paint can. I filmed it, called 911. Deputy saw the can, traced it to a hardware store purchased by Margaret's nephew Ethan, 27. No direct tie to her, but the message was clear. I told Tom to save it for mediation. Let her think she's winning. The next week, Carl brought news. HOA treasurer Paul Wen got kicked out for asking about missing funds. Paul showed up at my house Sunday nervous with a binder. Margaret been skimming $3,500 monthly as consulting fees unapproved. She paid $22,000 for the wall demolition from HOA funds listed as safety maintenance. Total fraud, maybe $150,000 over 2 years. I stared at the numbers. Paul, why me? You're the only one beating her. I called Rachel Lee, a Columbus journalist who'd exposed county scams, met her at a coffee shop, handed over Paul's binder. She spent 3 hours grilling me. Owen, this is huge, but I need to verify. Take your time, I said. Rachel's article hit Tuesday. Willow Grove HOA head accused of fraud tied to commissioner. It detailed Vance's approvals, Margaret's payments to family, and the wall demolition. By evening, TV crews were at the courthouse. Vance denied everything, but an ethics probe started. Willow Grove's forum exploded. Residents demanded audits, resignations. I stayed quiet, watching from my porch, creek humming, air crisp with coming frost. Wednesday, Tom filed 2 notices. I was closing Kessler Lane to non-emergency traffic in 30 days, and the expired drainage easement wouldn't renew without negotiation. Both legal, both public. The county engineer called panicked. Owen, closing that road cuts Willow Grove's emergency access. I said it wasn't my problem, check the 1953 deed. By noon, reporters were calling. Rachel asked, you really own their road? I confirmed. She laughed. They trashed your wall and you hold their lifeline. Poetic. Willow Grove's HOA called an emergency meeting. Paul texted updates, residents furious, some listing homes, others suing Margaret. A leaked recording captured her stammering, "It's a misunderstanding, lawyers will fix it." A resident shouted, "You stole our money and started a war." I listened in my truck, windows down, hayfields golden in the dusk. I felt control, not vengeance, just the weight of holding the right cards. Friday's mediation was packed, 180 people in a room meant for 100, air thick with coffee and tension. 2 news crews streamed live. I sat with Tom, Margaret sat with a young lawyer looking hollowed out. Supervisor Mills opened, "Mr. Kessler, your terms." I stood, projector ready. "This is Clara's wall, built 1951 on my land." Photos showed its beauty, then its ruin. Margaret Hensley ordered its demolition, no permits, while filming. I showed forum posts calling me unhinged, citations for nonsense violations, and the barn vandalism video nodding Ethan's paint can. Gasps rippled. "I haven't pressed charges, I want justice." I laid out terms: $92,000 damages, $110,000 for wall rebuilding, a public apology in the county paper, $600 monthly easement for 20 years, emergency access free and harassment stopped. I own Kessler Lane and the easement. I could close it tomorrow but won't. Innocent people don't deserve punishment. Except, or I shut the road Monday and end utilities in 30 days. The room erupted. Mills called a recess. Margaret's lawyer whispered frantically. When we resumed, Willow Grove's new president, Claire Dunn, stood. "We accept all terms, we'll rebuild the wall, pay damages, publish the apology, we're sorry." Margaret said nothing, just left, eyes down. Outside, Carl grinned by my truck. "You crushed it." I shrugged. "I just showed the deeds." Settlement funds hit by Monday. The apology ran 2 weeks, signed by the board. Wall rebuilding began in May using creek limestone, a mason matching Clara's design. Cost was $108,000 under budget. In June, 53 locals helped set stones, kids painting decorative rocks. My son came from Colorado, watched his kids run along the wall. At the dedication, a plaque read, "Clara Kessler Wall, 1951, rebuilt 2026. I funded a $5,000 annual trade scholarship with settlement money. Willow Grove reformed Transparent Finance's new board. Margaret moved to Nevada, I don't think about her. On a crisp April morning I walked the wall, stones solid, creek singing. Claire invited me to their potluck. "I'll bring pie." This is what Clara meant, build something right, it lasts. Share your HOA horror stories below. If you're fighting one, tell us where you're stuck. We've got your back.